Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource podcast. This is show 138, and I am pumped that you're here today because today we have an awesome interview with Alex Bloom, who spills the beans, man. He shares all the details. He says, "Hey, listen, I've gotten the most value when people share real information, real knowledge, real numbers, all that stuff." And so he wants to return that favor and has come on to share just the real solid information. So if you're one who thrives like me with that real information, how much did it cost? How did you finance it? What are the details? How did this whole thing work? And how do you run that business successfully? This is the episode for you because Alex, this is an awesome episode. He shares all, tells all. It's a tell all. That's what we're talking about. Tell all. Anyways, right before we jump into it with Alex, I just want to say this. Uh, we're coming up on the holidays here when this episode is going out. So if you're listening to it at a different time, still applicable. This is a time where we focus on family and friends, and I love all that is like the reason for the season to get a little cliche there, right? Uh, you should definitely be doing that. However, I also kind of see this as a good opportunity to really start developing some habits that are going to carry you with some momentum into the new year, right? A lot of us, and we'll be talking about this, I'm sure, when the new year rolls around, we think about the new year, we think about New Year's resolutions, all that stuff, and that's great. But how great would it be to roll into the new year with New Year's resolutions, but already have some momentum behind us? So, opportunity to do that, especially as things start to slow down, maybe you get some time off. You can sit around on the couch and watch football the whole time, which is awesome too. Nothing wrong with that. Or you could take a little bit of that time and take some action towards achieving your goals. And if that has to do with improving your laundromat, get after it. If that has to do with getting that first laundromat under contract and buying your first one, get after it with some action. I just want to kind of remind us, look, most people are going to be taking it easy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if that's what you need to do, you should do that. However, it's also a really good opportunity to take some action while everybody else is sitting down, doing nothing, and start building some momentum behind you to roll into the new year with authority. You know what I mean? All right. That's all I wanted to say. Don't overdo it because, again, this is the time in the season for family and friends and all that love and generosity and all of that. So don't lose out on that. But maybe carve out a little bit of time for yourself to get some momentum behind you. That's all I wanted to say. Let's jump into it with Alex. And you're going to love this interview. So let's do it right now. Alex, what is going on, man? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, taking some time out of your busy day to come talk laundromats with me. I'm super pumped to do that. Why don't you kick it off with who are you actually, and then how did you get into the laundromat business?
That's a great question. Well, thanks for having me first. I mean, long time listener, first time caller, I guess. So this is super exciting. I've watched a lot of your shows, and thank you for everything you do. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, my name's Alex, and I've kind of been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life. Um, Immigrated to the U.S. when I was like 5 in the early '90s with my family from Belarus, which is right next to Russia. So pretty much,
Awesome.
grew up in the states in the Western Mass area. Um, and I've always kind of had a knack for business, and I learned at a young age I was unemployable. So I went to high school, did auto shop, um, dropped out my senior year because my son, knocked up my girlfriend, had a kid, so dropped out, got a job. Always had a hard time keeping jobs. That was like the biggest hurdle was like, 4 or 6 months in, I don't like what I'm hearing. I kind of lose interest and I'm on to the next one. So that's kind of when I realized I was unemployable and I should look at, you know, being self employed, I guess. So just tried out a bunch of different jobs, most of them auto related, small dealerships, repair shops, stuff like that. And nothing really worked out for me until I got into the towing business. That was in 2009. I started a towing company, ground up, one truck. Had a bunch of friends that were mechanics as well, so it seemed, to be the perfect thing. Like, cool, I have all these friends that are mechanics. They all need tows. Cars are always breaking down, and that's kind of where I think I got my real start as an entrepreneur and something that actually worked out. So, um, ran that for a while. 2016, I sold it to a larger company and got into real estate and construction and remodeling and flipping houses and all of the above. Um, Kind of just grew from there. Got into the Airbnb world, did that for a little bit. COVID hit. We did really well. Market kind of just skyrocketed, took advantage, sold out, did a 1031, and got into laundromats. So that's a short story.
Jeez.
So,
Yeah, you've been all over the map, like literally from Belarus over to here. And where are you at, by the
so
way?
I'm in Western Massachusetts. I'm in Westfield, Mass.
Okay.
So that's kind of Springfield's one of our big metropolitan areas, and I'm just outside of that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so you've been all over the map that way, but also you've had your finger in a whole lot of different businesses. So what made you why laundromat? Like, you know what I mean? Like you've done a lot of stuff. Why'd you land in laundromats for
That's
now?
a great question. So I guess here's kind of what happened. Me and my wife were sitting around, and she's been great. She kind of agrees with 90% of the stupid ideas I have and follows me. You know, she has her full time job and all that, but she definitely supports me in all of my endeavors. And after, we were kind of under contract with our condo. We had a condo in North Myrtle Beach that we were Airbnbing. Beautiful place, oceanfront. We bought it before COVID, renovated it. I brought my crew down from up here. We spent a week, went through the whole place. So then when we listed it, we got decent amount of money for it, and we were like, what are we gonna buy? Like we got a 1031 into something. So I'm looking at storage units like everybody else is, and
Mhm.
multifamilies. And then, like, I have a ton of friends in real estate who all got kind of screwed over during COVID with rent because Massachusetts, I'm sure it's kind of like California, nobody wants to pay, and it's a tenant friendly state. So I'm like, oh, I don't
Mhm.
want to be a landlord anymore, which I still am. So I wasn't going to look at more multifamilies. I'm like looking at other options. And then I'm watching YouTube, and I'm like, I ran across Cody Sanchez, and she said one
Mhm.
thing that really like stuck to me. She's like, hey, you buy this multifamily for 400K and you make 200 bucks a door. Like, why are we doing this when you could spend that 400K or even less and buy a small business and cash flow, day one? And I was like, holy crap, this is like genius advice. So then she's talking about laundromats, and they were already on our radar, car washes, laundromats. We were already looking, but that kind of really pushed me towards it. And found one that had the real estate for sale, so I was able to do a 1031, and that's kind of how I got my first one earlier this year.
Dude, that's awesome. Just so everybody's on the same page, a 1031 exchange is where you buy a piece of real estate instead of paying taxes on that sale. You actually just commit to putting the money into buying another piece of real estate, essentially.
Yeah, so
So
they let you
that's
defer
a
the taxes, so you don't really ever get
yeah,
away from them unless you just, you know, properties sit there and you die and pass them on, and
defer until you die,
exactly,
defer until you
exactly. It's a
die,
great
right?
tool
Or
to
refi till
utilize.
you die.
Super stressful to do because you have such a short window, but if you can make it happen, it's worth it. So
Yeah, there's timelines associated, all that. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So, all right, so you took this money you had, 1031, exchanged it into a property with a laundromat. And were you looking for a property with a business in it, or with a laundromat specifically, or what were you looking
I
for?
was looking for anything that I could 1031 into that I could make money on that wasn't a multifamily. So I was looking at commercial
Yeah.
places, laundromats, car washes, storage units. And in our area, everybody's trying to get into storage units. So it's kind of like oversaturated at this point and they're overpriced. So I was like, all right, this is out of my price range. Car washes, same thing. They wanted way too much money. And laundromats, I kind of found like the happy medium where I can afford to get into it. And it's still like, it's not an overly complicated business. So like the first store I bought, it was two transactions because the 1031 only lets you buy the real estate. So I had to buy the laundromat business itself separately. So it's like two separate transactions. Um, but we were able to work out a deal, and I mean, I'll put the numbers out there. I paid, what did I pay? I paid 405,000 for the real estate and the business. It was a turnkey business. The guy got it from 88-year-old guy. He built this place up. It was profitable from day one. He just wanted to retire. He wasn't selling it because it needed a retool. The machines in there are from 2016. So, they're pretty much just paid off. Everything works great. The store was nice. It had good curb appeal. It was just walk in and start making money from day one. So It was a win-win.
Dude, what was the breakdown again for the real estate versus the
So
laundromat
it was ended up being
price?
200K on the real estate and 205 on the business.
Okay.
And then I had a P&L sheet. So this guy had, it's a hybrid store. So he was able to give me his printout from his card system in that store. So I was able to go back years and see his revenue for card and coin. I took his P&L, his profit and loss statement. I gave it to my local banker. She looked at this thing and said, I can lend on this right now. The numbers look great. So I was like,
Mhm,
perfect. Like, that's what I want to hear. Look good to me, but she knows better.
mhm,
And yeah, so there was 200 and 205. So we ended up doing two separate transactions because of the 1031.
mhm.
Closed on it March 31st. And I was, pulling, that was, I believe that was a Friday. And I was pulling money out of this on Monday.
Dude,
So it was a win.
living living the dream there.
A wise man once told me nightmares are dreams too.
That's true.
So, I'm brand new to the industry in March, 31st, we closed on this. And like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I had a dryer fire.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome to the
So
business.
that's, yeah. Hey, yeah. Welcome to the business.
That's
It's a
right.
hot business.
That's right.
So yeah, small dryer fire. It was a 75-pound speed queen machine that wasn't even running. So we were able to go back, watch the security footage. The clothes were in there. They were left in there for about an hour, and they spontaneously combusted.
Whoa.
Customer in the store. It's unattended too. So there's a customer in there that saw it. He runs over, grabs the fire extinguisher, runs back, goes to put it out. He stops, pulls out his cell phone so he can record it while trying to put it out. It
Yeah.
was
Of
like the funniest video.
course.
Like,
Of course, man. You gotta get the
yeah,
footage.
if it's not on Facebook, it never happened.
That's right.
So, but he put the fire out. The fire department came in, put fans in, so there was no smoke damage. It was just a dryer, which we were able to fix, and it really kind of worked out the best way it could.
Yeah, well, just I don't know, we're since we're on the topic, can you what was the did they get any sense of why it caught fire?
No idea. So we speculated a few things. There was one of those like uh, bathroom floor mats that has the rubber backing. So what we think
Mhm.
happened is that was in there, it got hot, and it was laying in there with the clothes on top of it, and it just kind of kept on getting hot and just kind of spontaneously. You could see it start smoking in the
Mm,
cameras before it actually went up in flames. So,
yeah.
but fire department was great. The customer was great. I wish I knew who he was. Like I'd give him a loyalty card with money on it to say thank you, but he didn't stick around. He kind of just put it out and continued about his business. So
What were there any repercussions for the customer whose actual stuff it was?
never even heard from them. The fire department took all the clothes from that dryer and they threw it outside. So this was like 9, 10 o'clock at night. It was raining that night. So I ended up driving down. That place is an hour from my house. So fire department calls me. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there in an hour. I'm on my way. Drive down. The clothes are outside getting soaked. Like I just threw them off to the side. Nobody called me. The next day they went in the trash. So
Man, wild.
it was,
Wild, wild. Well, it's what's crazy is like number one, you hear these stories a lot, especially if you're like trying to get into the business. People are like pretty quick to be like, "Oh, don't do that because you might get a fire or repair costs are expensive or whatever, whatever, whatever." And it's true. Like, so Ross Dodds, who's been on the podcast a couple times, episode 9 was the first time he came on the podcast, and he shares the story of how he had a fire and it basically burned down his entire store.
like
Like,
the first day he
I
owned it,
can't
right?
yeah, like basically like right after he bought it, and then he didn't have any laundromats for like 2 years, and then he had 2
Uh,
after 2 years when they were like fixing it
Yeah.
all, right?
I was just scrolling through Facebook, I think yesterday, and I saw a post from him that he just, had another location that they broke into and stole all the copper. Like, I feel so
Still
bad for him
all yeah,
because he can't win.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Welcome to laundromats and welcome to LA too at the same time. Like
yeah, that's tough.
it's wild.
So,
Yeah, he's been waiting on permits to redo this place and finally got them and then found out he didn't have any pipes left.
uh,
A bunch of stuff. So
that's the word.
this stuff happens, right? And like this is why like for a lot of people buying a business or starting a business or stuff, it's not for everybody, right? Cuz stuff does happen, and part of being a business owner, part of being an entrepreneur is having the, you know, it's solving problems,
Yes.
right? It's solving
Yep.
problems. And sometimes these problems come up like that. But kudos to you for, handling it and having, luckily you had a customer who could put that thing out before it did real damage.
Yeah,
Uh
that's a saving grace there.
yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so let's go back to your deal. So you 1031 into this real estate property and then bought the laundromat. What was the process like for you? Both on both fronts, actually, the real estate side and the laundromat side. What was the process for you of like due diligence?
Jordan, I lost you there for a minute. All right, you're back now.
Yeah, it like froze up on me here. You know what I'm gonna do? I have a hold on, let me mark down this time actually, just so my editor knows. Cut this out. Um, I don't it might be my internet actually, I'm not sure. I'm gonna hit this low data mode. Uh, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna turn off our video for each other live.
Okay.
But it'll still be recording the video. So the video will still be there. But it'll just turn it off so it doesn't freeze up like that.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. And then I'll re-ask the question, uh, which was tell us about the due diligence on the real estate and the laundromat. So I'll re-ask it. We can cut all that out. Eric, cut all that out.
Okay.
And then we'll just pick it up as if nothing happened.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. All right. You still
I'm
there?
still here.
All right. Cool. All right. Let me just get down this time here. So okay, going back to the deal, tell us about, if you don't mind, tell us about the due diligence process that you went through, both for the real estate and for the laundromat when you did this 1031 exchange.
So the real estate part was it was pretty simple. So I'm a realtor as well. I didn't use myself as a realtor on this because I'm not licensed in Connecticut. So I live in Mass. This store was in Connecticut. Um, so I used the listing agent that listed it for the seller, and it was pretty simple. I looked at the comps in the area, which was really kind of hard to figure out. It's a small store. It's only 918 square feet. So I kind of figured out what it's worth. And then I looked at the business itself and what his gross and his net was. And I ended up buying, if you do the math on the real estate and on the business, and you combine, that purchase price of 405 with what his, gross and his nets were, I ended up buying it with real estate at like a little over 3x, but it was under 4x.
Dang.
So that was to me like a home run because I'm looking at other laundromats that are no real estate for like 5x and more. So I looked at a bunch of places before I even bought this one because we were going to build a store or we're going to buy another rundown building, before we got this one, and just nothing worked out. I ran into issues with everything, which was probably for the best because this ended up working out, which was great because it was profitable day one. Um, but I looked at comps for the real estate, figured that it's easily worth, the 200K. And that was pretty much that. On the business end, I looked at all of his utilities. I mean, this guy was super organized. He had everything. He gave me like I think 2 years of data off of his. He's got the spider wash system in there. So 2 years of data off of that, which has your coin and your card sales on there and all your loyalty stuff. He had bills for the past few months, and he was just like a genuinely honest guy. Like when you talk to him, he's like 88 years old, and you could tell he wanted to sell this so he could take the money and go travel with his wife. That was the whole
That's
plan,
awesome.
uh,
Yeah.
which you know unfortunately didn't happen for him. So while we were going through this process, we ran into some environmental issues. So we had to do a 21E. This used to be a gas station, so that kind of threw up a red flag with the bank. The site was perfectly clean. We paid for the 21E. He split the cost with me. But during this whole process of everything getting delayed to buy it, his wife ended up like passing away 2 weeks before the closing.
Oh
And like I felt
no.
so bad for him because that's all he wanted to do was just go travel with her. And the first offer I made him was a owner financed offer. Like, hey, take this, I'll buy you out. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted all the money to go travel. And I feel like if he'd taken that, I could have
Right.
refied and got him the rest of the money, and he could have just started doing what he did. But it probably took about 3, 4 months for the whole process to go through. So
Dang.
it sucked. Yeah, I felt so bad for him. But after he sold, I still talked to him. He just went down to Florida to visit his other kids, so he's traveling, just not the way he wanted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's too bad. That happened like that. Man, the timing of that is just brutal.
yeah, yeah, still,
Uh,
but really nice guy. And like I said, he was just, you could tell just from talking to him, he wasn't out to screw anybody or sell you something that wasn't there. He was just 100% upfront about everything he did. He automated just about everything in the store. Just one of those guys like DIYers that would do things, but he would do them right. So I barely did anything to the store after purchasing it. I did some paint, cleaned up some stuff, and we're gonna do some work to it over the winter now. But just kind of freshened it up a little bit and just kept it running.
Dude, that's awesome. Did you find that, I mean, it's nice that he had a card system, that spider wash system that helped you verify everything. Did you find that business was the same as it was before, or like what he said?
It was yeah, it's exactly what he said, like to the T. Um,
Yeah.
Everything was as expected. So our first month, I went back, and what's nice was you're able to take over the Spider Wash account. So he's had it there for like 8 years or so. So I took it over. So now I'm able to go back and compare my numbers now to all his numbers going back like 8 years.
Mm.
So I was able to see like the averages, the best days, and all of that, averaging it over multiple years. So everything he told me was accurate, and I think that the card systems kind of stop people from trying to cheat you on a sale. If you have all of those numbers, if it counts coin and it counts card, like it's all laid out for you. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. And it makes it, like you said, it makes it much more financeable
Yeah.
too. So
Yep, exactly. You got a
I'm
change
a huge
machine that might count how much cash is going into it, but that cash isn't necessarily like what your profit is, because somebody could
nope.
put a $20 bill in and only spend 10, 10 walks out the door, your cash machine counted, you got 20, but that skews your numbers. So like all cash stores, like I feel like it's really hard to purchase and kind of figure out what it's making, which we talked about for the other stores that we did. So
Yeah. No, that's for sure true. And especially if there's not very good records, which a lot of times there aren't, and especially if, things aren't being reported or deposited into banks, which a lot of times they aren't. So yeah, it makes it tough. That is the trick for sure when you're buying a store. So that card system makes it super easy.
especially when you're brand
To
new to the industry and you really don't know what to expect. I mean, that's like key. Find a store that's for sale that might be a hybrid store or even, an all card store, which I'm a hybrid store type of person. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, all the numbers are there and they can't lie to you. I mean, I guess they could sit there and really just feed quarters all day if they wanted to, but if they have that kind of time, I mean,
Yeah. they they earned it at that point.
yeah,
But there's other ways to kind of verify that too.
yeah, exactly. Utilities.
Yeah. And that's a reason, like if you're seeing yellow flags or red flags popping up, that's a reason to bring somebody in if it's your first deal or you're not really sure what's going on, bring somebody in who's got some experience to help you kind of unravel all that. When you went back through the spider wash data, did you find anything interesting? Like, did he used to make a whole lot more money or less money or anything interesting in that data?
Um,
Just out of curiosity.
yeah, so actually I got curious and I went back, and I'm a numbers guy, so I definitely looked back years, and it was just a slow progression that kind of he kept building onto, and it seems like uh, over the years he just made more and more, and it progressed in the right direction. So the data kind of supported everything he was doing in that store and the customer base, and I was able to talk to customers in the store even when we went to go look at the place, and they were all like, "This place is amazing. It's always clean, the owner's super nice," and they're all like, "We're super worried when he sells it." I'm like, "No, we're gonna keep it all the same." Like, so talking to customers, you get
Yeah,
a lot of good information because they're not hiding anything.
that yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, they'll tell you
Hmm.
too.
So
Can be a blessing and a curse though, sometimes, depending on the customer. Sometimes you get those opinionated ones that
yeah,
think they're speaking for everybody. But generally speaking, absolutely.
you got to take what they say with a grain of salt and form your own like conclusions to it. But it's still valid information that kind of should help you figure out if it's a good unattended store or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you bought this laundromat. You really didn't do a whole lot to it, and it was profitable day one. And it sounds like a nice, boring success story aside from a small dryer fire that could have been bad but wasn't bad.
Yeah, that's it.
Uh, I love I love all this so far.
You and me both.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. This is way better than my story. Gosh, man, I would have loved a boring story like that. When you kind of took over, like how are you running your store? Do you got is it attended, unattended, or what are you doing over there versus other people? Are you running everything?
Yeah.
How's it shaping
So
up?
this one's an unattended store. It's open 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. Everything's automated: doors, lights, alarm system. There was a cleaner that would clean for, excuse me, the previous owner. He would come in before the store opens because he works at the gas station next door, third shift. He would get off of work. He would come in. He would clean. Store opens up. So it's nice and clean in the morning. And that's pretty much it. So all I really do is I go there twice a week to check on the store and empty out the coin boxes. He'll call me. The cleaner will call me if there's an issue. Um, so like he called me the other day. He goes, "Hey, one of these machines isn't working." I had to go down there. Found out that the drain was clogged with, I mean, you name it, it was in there. Um, but that's pretty much all I've done is a little bit of maintenance here and there, and I just go down there, minimum twice a week unless there's an issue. Uh, I had one weekend last month. I was there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's an hour from my house. It sucked driving there,
Hmm.
but it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that's I was going to ask you about that too. Like, being an hour away, like how difficult or easy? I mean, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how far is too far for a laundromat? And a lot of people like on the internet have different opinions on this. So I'm just kind of curious of your experience being an hour away from it. How have you found that? Is that manageable? Would you recommend that?
So I
Has it
think
been more challenging than you thought?
I think because the previous owner did such a good job setting everything up, that store being an hour away, and it's all back roads for me, so there's really not a lot of traffic going out there. Um, it's not bad. I don't think I would go any further than that. I think that's going to be my limit. But if the store wasn't as automated as it is, there was no way I'd be able to make it work. So when I found the store and I showed it to my wife, I was like, "Hey, check this out. Let's go look at this." She goes, "Oh, it's an hour away." I was like, "Yeah, but it looks nice. Let's check this out." So I set up a thing with the agent, and the day we're driving down there, she's like, "This is too far. You're wasting everybody's time. I don't even know why we're looking at this." And we walk through the doors and we meet the owner, and like we talk to him. He shows us around, shows us everything. We leave. She's like, "Yep, put in an offer right now."
What was it that she liked about the store so
I
much?
think she really liked the previous owner. Just
Mm,
an honest guy that literally he took the time to show us everything without us even like saying we're interested yet. So,
mhm.
just talking to him, and she went and talked to customers because it was busy. That store's busy all day long. It doesn't have a ton of machines. It's a really small store. 14 dryers, 13 washers. And it does, I mean, I think we average 5 to 6 turns per day in that store.
Dude, that's awesome.
So yeah, so we walked out and she's like, "Make an offer." I'm like, "You want me to turn around?" She goes, "Well, no, don't make it seem too eager because then we can't negotiate." I'm like, "I think he knows what he has. He's not negotiating. Pay him what he wants." He wanted 400. We gave him 405 because we found out there was two other offers coming in, and then he accepted ours because he said that he liked us. So it was kind of a win-win.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, that's actually a really good tip. I've said this before, but like real estate, buying businesses, stuff like that. This is a relationship business, right? And building rapport and taking the time to, get to know a seller, and not only that, but probably even more importantly than that, recognizing when a seller is taking pride in their business and just letting them share. I'm sure that's what did it for you. I mean, and you guys obviously are awesome people, but I'm sure a huge part of it was you guys just let him show you everything. And he probably did it because he loves the business and he takes pride in it and he's run it for a long time and he knows what he has. And you guys let him kind of show it off, which is
Exactly.
awesome.
And it's funny. So he came back a few times because, just to check on the place and hang out. And one of the times he was there, A customer came up with an issue, and he went to go reach in his pocket for his keys, like he's probably done for the past 20 years, and realized he doesn't have keys anymore. And like I
Right.
noticed that. I didn't say anything. I kind of just let him keep talking to the customer and help him out because it made him feel good.
Yeah.
Because it was his baby for like 20 years. So,
Yeah.
but great guy. I still
Yeah.
talk to him once in a while, so kind of keep that relationship going.
That's awesome. I love to hear that too. I'm curiously, I mean, you kind of mentioned this, and I'm wondering if you can kind of pinpoint some things for us. But you said, being an hour away has been doable in large part because of how he set up his business and automations and stuff. Can you like pinpoint some of the things that he has done that's made it more doable for you to live further away from the laundromat?
Sure. So everything's automated, right? So I mean, you have the coin, you have the change machine. There's two of them in case one goes down. You have the card system, so people can use the cards. Which it's actually I just ordered a new one to upgrade them all because they're all kind of they're old and beat up. Um, Doors, both front and back door are automatic. The front door is one of those automatic sliding doors, and the back door is a regular swinging door that he added, a motor onto, so it's motion censored. It opens right up for you, so when you're walking in with a handful of laundry, you walk right in, door opens. It's people love it. Um, he's got heat and air conditioning. It's set. It turns on and off as needed. Cameras. So we upgraded the camera system because his was a little older, but the cameras kind of help with all of that. We have an Amazon Alexa in the ceiling, so if we need to communicate with somebody in there, we can do that. And one of the changes I made was I put a realtor's lockbox on the wall, and I left a spider wash card in there with no money on it. And what I do is if somebody says, "Hey, the machine stole my money," I don't have the time to go review cameras. If you lost $5, I'm gonna give you $5. Like I don't care. It's gonna cost
Hmm.
me way less than driving down there and trying to figure it out.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I have a card in there with no money, and I tell them, I'm like, "Hey, this is the combination. Open the box, take a picture of the back of the card with the number, send it to me. I'll put money on there. You lost five, I'll give you 10 for your trouble, whatever. Use the card, put it back when you're done, right?" And the reason I have them text me that and I don't actually keep the number on me is so this way, if we have the same person doing it all the time, I'll have that text thread going and I'll be like, "Oh, wait a minute, you're the only person having an issue every other day." So that was one of the things I did early on. So I didn't have to drive down there for these like small issues of, hey, this washer took my money or, this dryer took my money. Just that kind of saved me a lot of time. Um, I still got to go down if the change machine kind of jams, which has happened a couple times, but there's another one, so I'm not like rushing down. So, but that's a lot
Yeah.
of the automation that he did.
No, I think that's awesome. And that's,
And I actually just
that
found out,
automation and a lot of the kind of
sorry, I just found out the change
innovations
machine
that
we
are
have.
happening right now where people are getting creative with like Alexas and the card systems that are happening. And I love the real estate lockbox idea that's on there. Um, all of those things are making it easier to own laundromats further away, which is really interesting right now. So thanks for sharing some of those tips on ways that we can automate our store. I think that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's been
Uh,
great. Every time I run into an issue, I try to find a way to resolve it without having to go there. So
yes.
that's key.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that kind of thinking leads to more innovation, right? Because eventually you'll come up with things that uh, you wouldn't have thought of otherwise because you've encountered a problem that you haven't encountered yet, but that you could foresee having again, and you think of a solution for it. So I love that sort of mindset. And I think even if you own a laundromat down the street from your house, and I was kind of talking to somebody else about this today, actually. If you own a laundromat even just down the street from yourself, temptation could be to just jump down there and go solve the problem. And I did that a lot early on, even though I didn't live that close to my laundromat. Uh, but even if you live close, trying to figure out ways to not have to go in there when you don't need to
Hmm.
is, I think, it just serve your business better actually in the long run.
Yeah,
So
and it resolves the issue for the customer much faster than even if you're 5, 10 minutes away. If you can resolve it in 30 seconds with your cell phone instead of driving down, now that customer's happy that they're not waiting 10 minutes for you to get there.
yep,
So
yep, that's true. And I definitely had, especially early on, I had my fair share of customers who had to wait like 35, 45 minutes for me to get down there because I was the quickest I could get there. But I wasn't thinking about any of these things early on there. So I love hearing all the different ways people do that.
Yeah, time is money.
Time is money, not just for us, but for our customers too, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
So
and respecting them. Okay, cool. So you've got this laundromat. You bought it into March, or you close on it into March, and I mean, this sounds like a dream deal, more or less. Do you feel like you got the valuation uh, worth out of your purchase price?
I think so, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't regret any bit of that one at all. Um, I feel like I might have even paid more if I had to, but
yeah,
I don't have to, so I guess that's a good thing.
that's right.
Yeah, it was a score. It was on the market. It was just on like MLS for a while, which I don't understand why. And then I saw it and I didn't think nothing of it because it was an hour away, and then kind of revisited, the listing, and I'm like, let's go check this out. It's still up, and we're about to close on our condo, so let's do this. And yeah, so
Dude, awesome. But that's not your only one, right? You own more than one?
I do. I have three locations now. Um, so the second one we ended up buying June 1st. And that one is,
Oh, real quick.
yep, oh yeah, real quick. And that one's 10 minutes up the street from me. It's in my town, right in the center of town. So that one was on MLS as well for a long time with a realtor I knew. Um, but it was overpriced. It's like a 3,000 square foot standalone building. The people selling it own the building, and then they have a tenant in it next door as well. So it's the laundromat and a deli. Um,
Oh, cool.
it was a great store. I mean, the location it's a phenomenal location, right in the center of a college town. Windows, I mean, we have two over walls out of four walls are all glass. But they had like 30-year-old Wasco mats in there that were on their last leg. They were older owners as well. They were in their late 80s, and they were only open 8 to 5, like Monday through Saturday. They weren't open Sundays. So they weren't really making money. It was enough for
You
them
weren't
to
open
make,
Sundays?
you know,
Sunday's like the busy day.
exactly, exactly. But they were trying to sell, and they were trying to just cut back because, they just didn't
Yeah,
want to run it anymore. So they
yeah.
did the bare minimum, I think, to make their ends meet. That was kind of it. Um, so went in there. So I own a construction company as well. And I talked to my project manager at my construction company. I'm like, hey, check this place out. And he's a full retool and full remodel. Like, are you interested in like partnering with me on this? And he's like, you know what? Yeah, this could be fun. Um, and I asked him on a really cold day when we were working in a place with no heat. So Laundromat has a lot of coin operated heaters.
That's
So
right.
we kind of joke around about that. Um, but yeah, let the customers pay for your heat, right? So it was on a cold day, so he was all for it. So we kind of looked at a couple places together and then revisited this one because we looked at it before and just numbers didn't make sense. They listed it for 85,000, and they just weren't making that kind of money. So it was just a business, no real estate. They wanted to keep the building. They still own the building. They just kind of want to collect rent, even though I keep bugging them to sell it to me every time I give them a rent check. So, um, and it was pretty much buying the location. I didn't care about what they were making because none of it made sense. They weren't operating it the way they should. I didn't care about the equipment because none of it was worth anything to me. And they didn't have a change machine. They would count out quarters for the past 20 years for people, 30 years. They were there 30 years. Um, and they were the change machine.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
they were selling soap. They would buy like big containers of laundry detergent at like Costco, and they would refill like water bottles halfway up and sell them for like $1.50. It was just
I,
run
I
really
love it.
poorly.
Yeah, I love it.
So we went in. They wanted 85, and I walked in, and I'm like, there was a language barrier. So it's an older Korean couple. I walk
Uh-huh.
in, and she's there working, and I'm like, hey, do you still want to sell? Because it was off market at this point. It just didn't sell. The listing expired. I'm like, do you still want to sell? She said, yeah. I'm like, can we look around? She's sure. We looked at everything we needed to see. I'm like, all right, I'll get back to you. So we ended up coming back, I think a week later, and her son was working, who he spoke a lot more English. Um,
hmm
like, hey, we talked to your mom. We're interested in buying. I want to look over the numbers. he had a folder ready to go with all of their numbers. So I could see the utilities, I could see like the revenue, which was cash only. They didn't do much card. They have a wash and fold business going, but it was, a few customers. Um, so I looked at the numbers, and the numbers were just like, there's nothing here for me to buy. I will make you an offer based on the location of what I think I could turn this into. So I offered him 50K, and we ended up settling, I think, like 52.5. Like I wasn't going to lose the deal over 2,500 bucks. So we closed June 1st. We had a change machine already pre-bought. We bought a POS system. I had it sitting in my dining room table. We did training on it with the company we bought it from. So day one, we took all of their soaps, and I felt so bad too because they give us the keys, and they're still in the store, and we threw all of their soaps out. We threw like half of their stuff right in the dumpster.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it just wasn't valuable to
Yeah.
us. Put the change
Right.
machine on the counter. It wasn't even bolted in. Filled it with quarters. Like I didn't have time to count money. Um, had went shopping, pre-bought a bunch of laundry detergent that we can sell, and just kind of made changes day one, and then started retooling. And we never closed. So we started retooling in phases. Uh, so phase one, there's two banks of washers, two troughs. Phase one was all the bigger equipment. So we did 80s, 60s, and 40s. It was 17 machines. Phase two just got installed on Tuesday. We're still working on connecting everything, but it's all the 20-pound and 30-pound washers. And we did two 75-pound dryers and two 45-pound stacks. And they should be up and running by this weekend. Um, and then phase three will be the rest of the dryers probably in the spring. So,
Dude, I love it.
that's this.
I love it. So you bought it from these guys for 52.5. Are you purchasing equipment in phases, or did you purchase all the equipment and just having it installed in phases?
So originally we were gonna try to make everything last, right? Fix all the stuff that was in there. I ended up buying some used equipment to fill in some gaps that were there. That was a mistake. Never buy used equipment again. Um, and then we ended up financing the equipment through Alliance. We got Speed Queen stuff, and we ended up financing it in stages. So we financed stage one. They give you 90-day deferred payments and stuff as well to kind of help. So stage one, we financed that, and our application is actually good for the whole year. So to finance stage two, we really did not have to give them anything other than the machine breakdown from the distributor, which we'll touch on the distributor in a minute. I got a good story about distributors. Um, so yeah, so phase one they financed. Phase two was real simple. Hey, these are the machines we want. Gave them all the info. They're like, cool, no problem. And I'm hoping phase three goes the same because it'll be within the first year. And they said our application is open for the whole year. So,
Yeah, awesome.
um,
Uh, Real quick, I mean, just because you brought it up, okay, it sounds like you didn't have a great experience on the used equipment side, and you said you never buy it again. Can you enlighten us? Like why do you have that opinion?
buying used equipment is just buying somebody else's headache. If they're selling it, that means it's a headache to them. You know what I mean? Even if it's working, like we put the stuff in, some of it worked, some of it didn't. Then it needed, parts, and some of the parts weren't even available anymore because it was older. We got a really good deal on it. It was super cheap. Um, when we did our first phase, I ended up selling my 30-year-old Wasco mats to a guy in Pennsylvania because they were all functioning machines. They were just old and, sometimes having issues. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just a lot easier to put new stuff in, bite the bullet, spend the money, and just not have to deal with constant. This machine took my money. The quarters aren't going into this one. I don't think this machine's working. It's just spinning and it hasn't turned off. And it's been spinning for the last 2 hours
Oh,
because the
you
timer
there?
went bad. And yep, I'm here.
Keep
You
going.
want me to
Sorry.
restart? Where'd
Keep
I
going.
where'd I miss you?
Nope. You're
Yeah.
good.
So just buying the used equipment, just like yeah, we installed it, so we spent the money on the install, and we installed it ourselves. We didn't have to hire anybody. Wired it myself. Well, my son actually wired it. My son's an electrician's apprentice, so he does all of our electrical work. Um, he wired it. My project manager does all of our plumbing because that's what he used to do. So we kind of have everything in house, but just having to constantly every day have an issue with the older equipment is a headache. So from now on, I will never buy used equipment again. It's all going to be brand new because now if there's a headache, I'm calling that distributor. Hey, this is broken. It's still under warranty for 5 years. Let me know when it's fixed. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of buying new also, uh, for a lot of the same reasons. I wouldn't say I'm against buying used, but I don't know that I would really buy used un unless there was, like, a specific situation where it made sense,
one,
where I think those situations are pretty limited.
one of the other things with this store was, it had this 600,000 BTU steam boiler that would heat a 200-gallon water tank. So the previous owner, he's
Mhm,
like, you turn this on at 8 a.m. when you open. So now you don't
mhm,
have hot water till 10. And if you didn't
mhm.
shut this thing down by 12 or 1, it would pour out of the relief valve on the tank all of the hot water that it made. So within the first month, we scrapped that system. We put in a high efficiency water heater with a mixing valve. So now we get 200 gallons of on demand hot water. It's not an on demand water heater, though, it's a tank. Um, we saved $500 off of our utility bill in that first month.
Dang.
So we spent, I think it was like, we only had to pay material. We didn't have to pay any labor to install it. So we were like right around 8 to 10 grand with everything, with all the copper piping, because we can't use any PEX in Massachusetts. Everything in a commercial
Mhm.
building out here has to be copper or cast. So all the copper piping, the water heater, the mixing valve, everything we needed. My project manager, he does all the plumbing. He installed it all. Um, and yeah, just $500 a month. We're gonna make our money back, very quickly on that. And our customers now have hot water all day long.
Yeah. No, that's huge. That's huge, and I know, I mean, those the boilers with the big old tanks, I mean, I think they're still probably what people use, the majority of the time or still have in their stores. But yeah, man, I mean, it's costly to heat those big old tanks where the water and then they leach heat. Even if you've got them covered, they leach heat, and so you got to heat them kind of throughout the day.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's a lot. But $500, that's awesome
Yeah, it
saving.
was huge. And we noticed that right off the bat because we had all of their utility bills, so we could just compare. So we also have more usage. So so we probably saved even more because our usage doubled because we opened our hours. We're a hybrid store, so we're seven
Hmm.
to six, 7 to 11, open. 7 to 6 attended Monday through Saturday, and 6 to 11 and Sundays were unattended. And just this past week, we actually added an attendant for Sunday for half the day because we found a need for it. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so our
dude.
usage probably doubled and we saved the 500. So we probably saved even more if we really tried to calculate it.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. That's awesome. Uh, Dang it. I just thought of a question when you were talking there. It'll come to me. But so okay, so how big is this store?
So this,
Your other one you said was 900 and something square
yeah,
feet.
so the first one's 918 and this one's about 3,000.
Oh, this is a lot
A
bigger.
lot bigger, yeah. And we have a decent like behind like our counter area, we have a lot of storage for wash and fold. So we're trying to grow that part as well, which has been growing pretty good. Um, we're averaging about 25 new customers a month. So
Dude, that's awesome. How are you getting those new customers?
oh man, I do a lot of social media stuff. I was doing Google AdWords for a while. We have a radio ad right now. We just filmed a TV commercial that's not out yet, but I did put it out on like
Ah.
YouTube sponsored, YouTube ads and Google display ads.
Mhm.
What else have we done? We've done a ton of community stuff. We do the Laundry Love program, which is free laundry for 2 hours every fourth Wednesday. So that kind of like brings people in and then they tell people. So we get customers from that. Just word of mouth, a lot of networking. Networking is amazing. The power of, business to business networking is huge. So I should have saved that for the end. Um,
You can bring it back up
yeah,
again.
so like just a little bit of everything and kind of trying to find the best way to where the best return on ad spend is. So still learning and still trying new things.
I think we all are, sort of as an industry. I mean, advertising, it's not new, but it's relatively new here in our industry, and especially in any kind of systematic way. I think it's pretty new. So I think we're all kind of learning. together right now, which is pretty cool.
So yeah, and there's 4 laundromats in town as well, so we're not the only ones. We just happen to have the bigger store, square footage wise. Um,
Mhm.
so we do have some competition as well.
Have you seen the competition respond at all to some of the things that you're doing
Um,
in any way?
Not really. So one of them is a smaller unattended store. They have a decent amount of top loaders and stuff like that, and they're probably a mile away from me. So I don't even look at them as competition because the people that walk into, excuse me, their store won't necessarily come to mine if they're just kind of going to whoever's closest. The
Right.
other two are directly across the street from each other, about a quarter mile away, right on the other side of the town center. So if you go town center, we're on the east side, they're on the west side. Um,
Mhm.
there's two right across the street from each other. One of them was renovating for about 2 years, and we kind of opened at the same time.
Mm.
They have air conditioning. We don't. So customers come in all the time, all summer. All we heard was, "Hey, they have air conditioning up the street." I'm like, "Yeah, we've been told." Okay, cool. So we'll see you next week. So, like, so we hear that we're a lot nicer to people, so they come to us. Um, and now with the new equipment, we went with all the quantum touch stuff. So we have the Speed Queen Insights, we have the app, so people could do credit card. We see a lot more people coming in for like that, the newer, the bigger washers, the 80 pounders. So we're just trying to be the best store and give people the most value for when they come in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any sense of how many people use the app payment versus do you have spider wash in this one?
No, so this one we have the Speed Queen equipment, so we just decided to go with the insights that
So
they
you just
have. So they have the insights, so we
straight
can
with the
track
inside.
everything,
Yeah.
and they have the Speed Queen app that people can use to upload, their credit card and just start our machines right from their app.
Okay. Do you have any sense of how many people use that versus cash?
So I don't have a total number of customers in our store. We just started using this app within the last month, and we have almost
Okay.
100 customers on it already, and we're starting to build a nice float on it as well. Um,
Nice.
so we also give out $2 free every time you load 20 to entice people to use the app so we can have less quarters. But we're not going to do away with quarters because we do have a lot of older clientele that are stuck in their ways. They don't have smartphones. So they're changing machine in quarters and they're worried that we're going to get rid of it. I had a conversation with a guy last night. I think he's in his 90s. He's like, "I heard you tell those people to use an app." He's like, "I don't have a phone." I'm like, "Don't worry. We're not getting rid of the quarters. We'll help you whichever way you want help." So,
Yeah. Yeah. That, yeah, and I think that is the benefit of the hybrid, right? The downside of the hybrid is that you've still got quarters you got to deal with and all that. But the benefit is it does sort of cater to a wider audience there, wider customer base,
mhm. Yeah, we've had a good
which is
response
nice.
to it. And one of the other like pitches I have when I'm trying to get people to download the app is like if you want to come here on a Saturday, Sunday and you want to know how busy the store is, you can open the app at home and it tells you which machines are available. So if you need the 80 pounders and they're both running and you see, oh, they're going to end in like 20 minutes, now you could plan to come down and not have to really wait for one of those machines to open up for you. And that's been
Yeah.
really good for a lot of people. So,
Y- Yeah, that is super cool, especially, as on those weekend days where the laundromat can get busy, and your customers can just see like how busy is it? Is it a good time to go or not? They can stay in their pajamas a little longer,
yeah,
if
exactly.
it's busy.
It's all about creating value for
Uh,
them and giving them a reason to come to us and not the other guys.
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I love that sort of mentality too of just like, "Hey, let's give them every reason to come to our store
Hmm.
as opposed to anywhere else they could go." It's not because it's not just the other people. A lot of times it's like the laundry room in the apartment complex or even home sometimes.
Hmm. Well,
So they're all your
I
competitors.
had a great customer. She came in. She has washing machine at home. She used up 4 or 5 of our machines, and she said, "I can do this. Like, it's 22 minutes for a regular wash." She's like, "All of these are done in under half an hour, and I'm not spending the whole
Mhm.
day doing laundry." And she's like, "I started these," and she left us a really nice Google review, and she talked about how she was able to do her laundry. And since we're right downtown, while the machines were going, she left and she was able to do some shopping and come back. and it was just like a win-win for the whole neighborhood at that point. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's the kind of review you want, highlighted by Google there, right? Is
exactly.
those reviews.
So
Uh, Distributors, what do you got for me?
all right. So before I got into any of this, right, my first location, I put an offer on a building when I was trying to do this 1031. It's a city one over from me, so it's like 10 minutes from my house. It was a dilapidated building, so like roofs leaking, it's falling apart, and I'm like, cool, I can renovate this building, turn it into a laundromat. Um, Perfect area. I knew nothing about laundromats at the time. So I'm over here trying to put my numbers together so I can figure out, I'm like, where do I even get these commercial machines from? So I go on Google and I'm like, I think I searched, I didn't even know they were called distributors. Like that's how green I was, right? So I'm Googling, like, where do I get giant washing machines, right? So I come across, a distributor and I call the number and I'm like, hey, I'm looking to get some pricing on some machines, right? So they're like, okay, let me transfer you to the sales guy from Massachusetts. Cool. So this guy gets on the phone. He's like, what are you looking to do? So I tell him, like, hey, I got an offer on this building in this city. He's like, I know that city. I'm like, okay. This is the building. This is what I'm looking to do. And he's like, okay, well, I don't think you're going to be successful. You might as well give up while you're ahead. This isn't the business for you. You just can't do things like this. I was like, just shocked. I'm like, this guy doesn't want my money. Cool. Like, he doesn't know me from a hole in the wall. Like, just gonna tell your customer, you just, okay, cool, give up, cool. I'm like, all right, no worries, you have yourself a wonderful day. Hang up, go down the list to the next distributor, call up the office. They're like, yeah, the sales guy's not in, I could pass a message along. I'm like, sure, that'd be great. A couple hours later, I get a call from this guy. He's like, hey, what are you looking to do? Gave him the same story I gave the first guy. He goes, all right, I think the best thing for us to do is meet at the location. Let me measure it out. I can get you a floor plan and I can get you some pricing from there. That's probably the only way to do it. I'm like, all right, that sounds fair. Like, let me get a hold of the agent. We'll get into that building and do that. So he meets me out there, go through the whole building. He spends his time, measures it, gives me a nice plan, gives me a breakdown of machines, gives me cost. And I'm like, cool, all these numbers seem to work for me. The demographics look really good for that. And the only reason that project kind of died was the city would not give me utilities. They are pushing for all
Mm,
electric. They don't want any natural gas anymore. There's a moratorium. So they're like, yeah, just do it all in electric. I'm like, it's not how this works.
yeah.
So gave up on that. Found another store. He came out. It was a operational store that needed a retool as well. This guy came out to that one, measured it out, gave me pricing on that one. That didn't work out because of environmental issues. The real estate was for sale there too. He came out to a third store for me, measured it out, gave me a printout. So this guy spent like countless hours with me already, and I haven't done a single thing. And I'm like starting to feel bad. I'm like, I keep calling him. He keeps coming out with a smile, like happy to deal with me, like just a great guy. And then I buy my first store in Connecticut, which is outside of his territory.
Ugh.
And he's like, hey, no worries, but we got a guy in our company that deals with Connecticut. If you need anything, call him, this and that. I was like, all right, cool. Um, Call him up, once we got to this Westfield store. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking at this one. He goes, I know that store. I went to college right up the street. And I'm like, cool. What do you think? He goes, I've always loved it. It's got the wall of glass, this and that. I'm like, all right, I want to, retool it. Comes down, looks at everything, gives us a quote for all of the machines. And I'm like, all right, let's split this up into phases. So we're going to end up retooling that whole store with him. And he's just been just an awesome guy. I can text him for advice. He tells me whatever, so he's, when they say find a distributor that, you kind of can work with and you vibe with, I think that was him. Um, Kind of close to my age as well. So, and really knowledgeable. So,
Can we give him a shout out? You want to say who it
yeah.
is?
So his name is Tim. He's from Daniel's Equipment. Um, his boss, Ralph, I see him at all of the shows. I just went to the CLA thing in Nashville. He was down there. And yeah, I mean, the guy's been awesome. Like, so anybody in like the New England area, they cover all of New England, and give him a call. The company's been great. Everybody there's been awesome to deal with, and just makes it super easy, especially when they knew I was new. It didn't stop them from going above and beyond to make sure that I'm going to be successful here. So
I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
So I ran into the other guy that kind of blew me off on the phone at one of that distributor did one of those like local trade shows, and I
Hmm.
went there just to see what they were offering. And he's like, "Oh, this is gonna be your sales guy in Massachusetts, blah blah blah." And I didn't even tell him who I was. I was just like, "All right, whatever." I knew I wasn't gonna buy from him. I was very happy with,
You're like, no, he's not. Yeah.
yeah. So I kind of wanted to be that guy, like, "Hey, you blew me off, and I'm retooling 2 stores now. So I guess that kind of sucks for you, but it's your problem."
Yeah.
But I'm not that guy.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's a that I mean, thanks for sharing that story because that's I mean, I think that's a great illustration of like the difference between a good distributor and a bad distributor, right? Somebody who's willing to kind of go a little bit more to help you get the deal, and eventually, if they help you, you're going to give them the business, right? And they're going to make the money, and they're going to make more money because now you're doing, you know, two, but who knows, right? Going forward,
Right,
how many
exactly.
more?
Well, not only that, but now Tim knows what I'm doing. So in the short like year and a half or whatever that I've met him and known him, he's kind of seen what we do and the fact that like we do our own construction. So when they're ready to come in, everything's ready for them. Like we don't play like, "Oh, it's not ready yet. Extend this, extend that." So he actually texted me a couple weeks ago. He goes, "Hey, I know this other guy's selling a store. You interested?" Like, send me the info. I'll look at it. What's the worst that'll happen? Like I'll look at it and it doesn't work. So now he's sending me info. He's called me a couple times on a couple of stores for sale. So, those out there that are looking, like just getting good with a distributor because they find out firsthand when things are going up.
Yep. Yep. I love that. I love that. Shout out to Tim
Shout out to
over there,
Tim. Yeah.
Daniel's Equipment. Always want to reward the good people in the industry there who are helping each other out. So, Tim, well
Yep.
done,
Shout out to
buddy.
Tim at Daniels.
Keep it up. All right. So,
So,
do you have two
yeah, that's
laundromats?
that's
Is
the
that where
short
you're? Is
story.
that where you've stopped so far?
What was that?
I said, do you have two laundromats? Is that where you're at right now?
So yeah, so those are the two operating ones, and then 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I closed on my third.
Oh,
It was a laundromat that I had. I went door knocking before I bought anything when I was trying to find something, and I stopped into this location and got a hold of the owner. The attendant gave me his number, and they weren't ready to sell. And I was like, "All right, no worries. Just here's my info. If you ever change your mind, give me a call." Um, about a month or so ago, I went to a BNI networking thing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with BNI. Um, it's just like a
mm-mm.
networking thing you go to every week. It's like an hour and a half, usually early morning. Um, I went to one of those, and the attorney that did the closing for my Connecticut store was there. And he goes, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." I was like, "Oh boy, what did I do?" He's like, "Are you interested in another store?" I was like, "Possibly." He's like, "Because I got this guy. I sold him a laundromat. Like, he bought this in 2020, and he named it 2020 Laundromat. I think most of us want to forget 2020.
Yeah.
So he had this laundromat. That was the one I ended up door knocking to, but I didn't know it at the time. So
Uh,
the attorney is like, "Hey, so I got this guy. He's kind of in a bad spot. He ended up selling his laundromat that he bought to one of his managers that was running the store. A bunch of stuff happened, and now he needs to get out from under it." I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Yeah, give him my info. Have him give me a call." So like a week later, I get a text like, "Hey, looks like we've talked in the past, and the attorney said, you're interested." I was like, "Yeah, let's meet and talk." So I meet him the next day, and I walk in, standalone building, nice parking lot. It's in Springfield, which is a really big metropolitan area here in Mass. In our side of the state, it's probably the biggest one in our side. Um, I walk in and he's got the 30-year-old Wasco mats. Half the machines are out of order. It's like your typical zombie mat. It's closed. It's been
mhm.
closed for 2 months. The manager just stopped showing up after buying this place, and the owner financed it to him. So they're not getting their money. Nobody's getting
Oh,
laundry done. It's just like nothing positive, right? So I'm like, "What are you looking to do?" He's like, "Oh, I'll just lease it to you." I'm like, "You just want me to pay you monthly and just run this?" He's like, "Yeah, exactly." I'm like, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want any of this equipment. Like none of this here is going to work for me. If I did anything, I'd want to gut this place and redo it. Would you sell me the building? He's like, "Well, we didn't never thought about that. Can I talk to my wife and get back to you?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Like next day I get a call. "We'll sell you the building." I was like, "Okay, cool, but I have some conditions." He's like, "Okay." I'm like, I want you to give me a lease with an option to buy. I don't want to buy it right now because the store needs a ton of work, and I'm gonna retool it, put all brand new equipment in it, and I'll buy it, a little ways down the road. So we settled on a price for the building, and he's like, the money you give me down for the store, I'll give you a credit towards the real estate purchase when you buy it. And if you don't, it's mine. I'm like, all right, that seems more than fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up figuring it all out, and I ended up buying. So I'm buying the store for 350. I only gave him 25K down plus 10K for the option, and he's gonna credit me that 25 off the purchase price. So the building's worth that, and the parking lot on its own all day long. I ended up selling all of the decent equipment out of there, and I'm gonna scrap the rest. We're gonna retool with all Speed Queen, Quantum Touch, and I'm hoping to be open like maybe February, end of February if all goes well. Equipment's already ordered, so I'm just working on renovating everything inside.
Dude, awesome deal.
So
Awesome, awesome deal. And I love the creative financing aspect of it too, right? Like I think that's where we've got some as an industry, we've got some development to do, some growing to do is the capabilities of some creative financing like this that can help you work deals that work best for you as the purchaser and for the seller too, right? Being able to find these creative structures that make it all work out for you, which is that's an awesome structure for that deal.
yeah, it seemed to work out real, and I was able to negotiate a really low rent. With a he gave me 1 month free, and like I got it for under $1 a square foot per month. It's an
Dude, that's
eighteen
awesome.
hundred square foot store. I got him down to $1,200, on the rent because he knows how much work we're gonna put into it. And the reason I structured it this way, actually, so this might help some people. So Alliance has this thing where, um, oh boy, Alliance has this thing where they'll finance your store for you, but they have like it's a lot easier to do when you don't. They'll finance the equipment, but if you don't own the building, right, all you got to do is put like 25% of the value of what they're financing as work into the building. So if I was to buy the building, I would need to put down way more money. I'd need to put down money on the building plus money to Alliance. And I was able to figure out that if I don't own the building, I'm putting in, I think, about 80K to 100K in renovations into the building because we're doing a new HVAC system. We're doing a new water heater. Like I'm abandoning all the old stuff because none of it is efficient. None of it's good. There's a lot of rebate programs out there that you can kind of, get rebates, save money, save on utility costs. So that 100K that I'm putting into the building is kind of like my down payment on the equipment. So Alliance is giving the equipment with zero money down out of pocket to them. But if I was to own the building, it wouldn't work that way. I'd have to put way more money out of pocket. So
Yeah, that's a great tip. Way to work the system, man. I love it.
there's always gray
It-
areas. And if you can work in those gray areas, you could do a lot more.
yeah. Well, I mean, it stretches that money out a lot more, right? And allows you to accumulate more assets than you would be able to otherwise. And you said in the very beginning, you're like, I'm just kind of like a born entrepreneur. I'm unemployable, those things. And how being able to think creatively like this, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally see that. Like you've got to be wheeling and dealing. You've got to be running your own businesses and all that stuff. That's in your DNA for sure, for sure.
It seems to have been working for a little bit. So, I mean, knock on wood, it keeps on working because you never know. I
Yeah,
mean,
keep it
one
rolling.
bad move and that's it, right? So,
Yeah, it can go that way. That's true.
so
But the thing is, you have the skill set, right? It's like there's the whole thing like you take away a millionaire's wealth and they have it back in the next 5 years or whatever,
right.
and probably and some. It's because that skill set. That's the value there, and all the things you've learned and are learning. That's what you know that's what brings the value to any business really, or any venture.
Yeah,
So
never stop learning. There's always something you can learn. You know, always be the dumbest guy in the room, but walk out not being the dumbest guy. So,
yeah, I love that. So do you have any do you have any future plans? Like, hey, my goal is to get to 10 laundromats or anything like that? Or are you just kind of rolling with it and seeing what happens?
a little bit of both. So I have a long-term plan. So this third store, I guess I should say that I have a partner in it as well. So my son's 18 now. He just graduated from high school. He's going to be an electrician because he's an apprentice now. He's been saving money and he wants to get into investing. So I'm like, hey, you want to invest in something? Throw your money into this and become a small partner in it. And kind of super excited for that because like when I was his age, that was the last thing on my mind. Um,
Yeah.
so that's kind of, for that third store there, he's going to be a partial partner in it. And then I'm thinking I'm going to stop for a little bit and get all of these, up and running and profitable first before I continue. Um, the third store was never really in the cards for me. I just couldn't say no to the deal. So unless something else like that comes up, I don't think I'm going to buy another one. I'm going to wait like a year or so. I'd like to have 10 in 5 years. So kind of three, take a break, maybe two or three, and kind of build up that way. Um, I'm focusing right now on building our pickup and delivery side of things as well. So I want to get that kind of built and operational so where I can hire a driver because right now I'm the driver. Um, and I can step away from the day to day and kind of focus on expanding. But till then, I'm just going to focus on the day to day, still running my construction company, still running the laundromats, overseeing everything, and see what happens. So
Are you running that pickup and delivery out of the second location or both or
it's
what?
going to be out of both. So right now, the third one's not ready for anything, but I expanded our territory to build up clientele for that one, and I'll just service it out of my second location until it's open, and then I could just split them up. And there's a river that runs kind of in between my two territories. So the goal is everything on one side of the river goes to one store, the other side of the river will go to the other store for easy logistics. Um, and yeah, I'm just gonna expand my area, bring everything to the functional store right now. They can handle the volume there. We have some amazing staff over there. Our attendants are just like top notch. I have customers that will like go out of their way to talk to me just to tell me how awesome the attendants are. And when I go to the stores,
Oh,
I make it a point to like talk to every customer in there, say hi, how's it going? Do you need any help? I'm all about customer service. So when I'm in there, I'm not just in there to collect the money. Like I want to know how everybody's doing. I know these customers by name, or if not, I'm gonna find out and I'm gonna know them by name. So every time they come in, it's more of a hey, John, how's it going? Nice to see you again. So just building.
that's awesome. I love that. It reminds me of that book, Unreasonable Hospitality. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't, you should read it for sure. But it reminds me of that. Just, kind of going over and above and making people feel welcome and cared about and known. And man, it turns out to be really good for business to do that.
It does. I was walking through my store the other day and I hear one of the customers talking to my attendant that it's her birthday and like, she's about to start a wash. Um, it's her birthday, she doesn't have a ton of money. She's trying to figure out what to do, this and that. I walked up, I started the machine and said, "Happy birthday, your wash is on me." The look on her face was just like just a sign of relief. It's not much. What is it, $8? Like, you know what I mean? What's $8? But to her, it was huge. And I know she went and told people. So like little stuff like that goes a long way. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of these people that
Yeah.
use the laundromats in store, they don't have a ton of money. So to them, $5 is a lot, $4 is a lot. So we do a lot of giveaways. Like we're raffling off a TV right now. No purchase necessary. Fill out a form. I'm building an email list with it. That's all I'm doing. So the email
Yep.
list is going to be paid for by this TV. So
It's killer. It's killer and it's smart too. Smart marketing. I think that I've talked about this. The email list is the most overlooked tool in our industry, I think, in terms of marketing.
it
It can
is.
be
I
super
mean,
powerful.
what's it take to send out 100 emails, 200 emails, 1,000 emails? Like once you have all of those email addresses, that you make one and you hit send. So like, why wouldn't you build one? So yeah, that's kind of
Yeah,
how I'm trying to build
exactly.
mine. Is just, hey, here's a free TV, 55-inch TV. We're raffling it off before Christmas. Fill out this form. We're gonna notify you by email, so make sure your email's accurate.
It's killer, dude. I love that. I love that. All right, we got a segment of the podcast called Down to Business, and we're just going to get just a little bit more details about your business. And thank you, by the way, for already sharing a lot of details about your business and, not just how they're operating, but also how you acquired them and how much they cost and how you financed them. All that stuff is like gold to somebody who's trying to get into this business for the first time or who's trying to build their businesses up too.
I was in the
So I
same
appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I was in the same boat, and I'm watching a ton of videos of everybody that puts stuff out. Like nobody wants to share that, so I'm like, I'm gonna start doing videos. That's like, yeah, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. That'll probably never happen, but I hope to one day.
Yeah.
And like, I'll share it
Well,
all.
when you do, let me know.
All right.
I'll I'll push it out there.
Awesome, awesome. But I feel like it's important to get that out there and like just because somebody trying to get into it, like I get people that text me all the time, like, "Hey, I see you're doing laundromats. Like, can you give me some advice?" Yeah, check these people out on YouTube, watch what they have to say, and see if it's for you from there, and then call me back. So,
Yep. Yep. You could be one of those people. You know what I mean?
we'll see.
All right. So we talked about where your laundromats are, but one thing I don't know if you mentioned it or maybe I just forgot, but how far are the laundromats from each other?
All right. So yeah. So I live in Westfield. I have one here in town.
Uh
My
huh.
first store is an hour from that one. And
Right.
then the third one is in Springfield, which is probably 15, 20 minutes, depending on traffic. Um, so the one in my Connecticut one, the first one I bought is my furthest. The other two are 15, 20 minutes apart.
How far is the first one from the third one?
Um, if I have to take the highway, it takes you all the way around. I'd guess, I haven't done that run yet. I'd guess it's probably about an hour and a half.
Okay. So is the third one in a different direction than the first one?
Yes, yeah. So if you
Okay.
take where I live and you put me in the center, um, my first store would be an hour to the southwest, and the other one would be 20 minutes to the southeast.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Um, and you've only been in since March, right? Into March is when you close on that first
Yeah,
one?
real short amount of time.
Dude, you are like drinking from the fire hose right now, getting into 3 laundromats in your first year,
If you're gonna do
first,
something,
like, 9 months?
is it 9 months already? Wow, it's been a fast nine
I don't know,
months.
something like that,
I
right?
mean, if you're
Like,
gonna do
I don't
something,
even think it's been 9 months.
April, May, June, July, August, September, October, yeah,
8,
uh,
7?
8.
Yeah, dude,
So, uh,
killing
go
it.
big or go home.
That's what I'm talking about. Or don't go home because you don't have time because 'cause you're driving all over the place to your
True
laundromats.
story. There's so much
Yeah.
windshield time. So much windshield time to listen to the Laundromat Resource podcast.
That's what I wanted to hear. I like
My
that.
wife
I'm
gets
gonna
in the
have to pay
car.
you.
She's like, I am so tired of this. Can we listen to some music?
Come on. You tell her to get with the
Oh, I'm gonna
program.
have to. She's gonna hear it from
God,
you now.
man. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know what? I'm speaking directly to you right now. Wake up and learn to love this voice.
Yep, yep.
How about that? Yeah. Uh, what what are your VIN prices at your different location? Are they priced similarly? Are they different?
They're different. So my Connecticut store has the older equipment washers. Like I said, I think they're 2016. My 20 pounders are 375. My 30 pounders are $5. My 40 pounders are 650, and a 60 pounder is $8. My dryers, my 30 pound stacks are a quarter for 6 minutes, I think. And then I have 45s that are 50 cents to start. And I believe that gives you 6 minutes as well. And then the 75 is 50 cents to start. And I want to say you get 4 minutes. I could be wrong on the last dryer ones, but somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and an important note, I guess, a takeaway from that is that like different places you're going to price them differently,
Yep.
right? Depending on a whole lot of different factors, how old the machines are, what competition is, how much utilities are, or rent, or all those things to factor in. So
Yep.
I think it's a good takeaway from
And
that
then
too.
the Westfield store that we're currently retooling, we have 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, and 80s, and they're just gonna be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Plus, all of the modifiers are gonna be more money, which we do really
Right.
well on those modifiers. People love to add extras.
What just for anybody who's in the dark here, can you talk about what a modifier is and maybe tell some of the modifiers you have
Yeah, so on
you
the
offer?
Quantum Touch equipment, this I'm only familiar with the Speed Queen Quantum Touch, so I don't want to talk about any other brand that I know nothing about. But on our machines, people can add an extra, like a pre-wash, an extra rinse. They can do heavily soiled laundry. It's like an extra, I think the 80 pounder is $12 to start. If they want to do bedding in it, it doubles the runtime. It's $16. If they want to do a deep cycle, it gives you hot water off the bat, which all of our machines are set to default to cold. And they have to actually change it to warm. Most people leave it on cold, so we're not even wasting hot water. Um, so we don't charge any extra money for temperature. So if you want to put it to hot, there's no extra charge. But if you wanted to do a deep cycle, it's doubles the 22 minutes to 44 minutes. I believe that's $16 instead of 12. The betting on those is 16. It's like an extra 250 or 350 to add like heavy soil. Oh, it's 350 for heavy, 250 for medium. An extra rinse, I believe, is like $2. There's so many different ones. I honestly like don't remember them all. But we like on the smaller machines, it's a little bit less. It's not 350. Like so if it's a $6 machine, it might be $1 for that modifier, or $2 for dollar for medium, $2 for heavy. Um, and it allows us to kind of upsell to everybody very easily because it's all touchscreen. It's all written out what you get. Those machines have like 50 different languages you could choose from, so people can read it in their own language. Um, like just the technology in the Quantum Touch versus just having the like the gold where you just have 5 buttons to start something is amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad we're finally in the touchscreen phase over here.
yep. And then the dryers
Get
there, I don't even know yet. We're gonna go to full cycle then. Once
mm,
these new Quantum Touch dryers are hooked up. I'm trying to figure out what those prices are going to be. I just made a post on one of the forums on Facebook to ask others what they're charging. Um, Tim sent me, he saw my post, he texted me what, our area is doing. I think I'm going to be a little bit higher than what our area is doing, but lower than what some of the stuff I've seen online and kind of figure out a way to create the value for people because now these 200G machines wring out your clothes so much better than the old stuff. So they're almost dry when they're going in the dryer. And these new dryers, they spin in both directions. So now your clothes dry faster as
mhm.
well. So we're going to try to play with some numbers and figure out the best value for people.
Sweet. I love that you're going full cycle dry.
Yep. So we didn't do all the dryers. So some are still going to be the older ones are still going to be your regular quarter for 6 minutes. But hopefully the new ones will start training people that this is what we're going to when they all get replaced. And I think most people will like it because every time they use a dryer, most people are dumping $1.50, $2 in there to begin with. So
Hmm.
now it'll make it easier.
Yeah. You already mentioned, I think your first store, I think you said is doing like 5 or 6 turns a day. Is that true?
Yeah, it's average. It's on average. So if I average out
Yeah, yeah.
like a month, it's about 5, 6 turns a day. Our weekends, our Saturday, Sunday, Mondays are way better than the rest of the days.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty typical. Pretty typical. What about your other store? How's that one doing?
So I looked at the numbers. So I only have numbers for all the new stuff. So pretty much half the store. So we ended up taking
Mhm.
out. So we have two banks of washers, like I said. So we've had the 40s, the 60s, and the 80s for the past like 2 months. So I have numbers on those. We actually ended up taking out our washers from the other bank, and then the delivery got a little bit delayed. So we've been down to half a store. Um,
Mm,
and I think we're about like between 2 and 3 turns per day based off of just that half a store.
mhm.
So that one bank is pretty much floating our whole entire overhead, which is amazing. It's breaking even. The
Yeah, that's
store's
awesome.
breaking even. It's paying its own bills, which I can't ask for more after doing all this work. Um, and we're slowly kind of building up from there. One of the things we did is we have a lot of older people that really love the 20-pound smaller machines. They can't afford much more. So for the past few weeks, we've discounted our 40-pound washers to $4, which is what the 20 pounders are going to be. That way we didn't lose those customers. And I think that actually brought in a lot more people because they were telling, hey, these washers are $4, come in. But we have signs on every machine, this machine on sale this week only, $4.
Hmm.
So that way they know it's not permanent. Um, but even with the discounted pricing, we're still kind of paying our own bills with it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's a good sign for when everything gets in there and you get fully operational too.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's tomorrow. So actually, my kid's going to school right now for his electrical class. When he gets out at 7:30, I'm going over there with him. We're gonna finish wiring all that equipment in.
Nice. Put them to
Yeah.
work.
Oh yeah. He's awesome.
I love it.
So
I love it. How about on your pickup and delivery? Do you know how much like pounds you're doing of pickup and delivery?
so not a ton. It's been a slow
Yeah, I know
start.
you're just starting
Yeah,
out,
we're just
right?
starting out. Our first month, we picked up a summer camp, so that kind of skewed all the numbers. So I kind of ignore the first month. But we're picking up probably one new recurring customer a month right now, and all of them
Hmm.
have been commercial customers. Like we got a couple of like spas type of customers, so we pick up
Hmm.
from these spas twice a week, and they're probably bringing us like 40 pounds each pickup. So each one brings us 80 pounds a week. So now we have four really good recurring ones, and then we have probably a good handful of like one off. They'll order here, they'll 2, 3 weeks later they'll order again, and I'm trying to still market that. It's not big in our area. It wasn't something that's like really out there, so a lot of people don't even know about it. Um, I'm also finding a lot of people don't even know about wash and fold. When I tell people you can have your laundry done, people that have never been to a laundromat, they're like, "What do you mean? Like somebody comes to my house?" I'm like, "Well, we can come to your house and pick it up and bring it back when it's done, or you could drop it off in our store and we'll wash it, fold it, dry it, put it on hangers." So I'm having these conversations with like,
Hmm.
business professionals that don't have time to do theirs, but they didn't even know the service existed. So
Yep. Yep. I think there's a lot of people out there that still don't even know that's a possibility. So part part of our marketing uh, chore as an industry is to just educate on that service in general.
absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where all the business networking really comes in handy. We just picked up an account with a state agency. I could say they're a state agency, and they deal with like homeless shelters. So we just picked up an account for them to wash laundry for some of the people that are in the shelters.
Hmm.
So literally picked up from them today, an hour before meeting with you. First one. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah,
So
that's a good pickup.
but
And you have a ballpark? Like how much time are you spending with your laundromats these like per week these weeks?
all of it. Um, my Connecticut store, I don't spend a ton of time unless there's an issue. I've kind of figured out I'm about 20, 30 hours a month with that store. And me and the wife have kind of made it a thing that if we have the time, we'll go down there together and we'll kind of make it a date night. We'll go to a bunch, we'll go out to dinner after or something like that. So it's kind of fun
Hmm.
to go down there. Um, the Westfield store, we have
Yeah.
amazing staff there that
Yep. And
handle.
that's what part of what it is like getting
What
things
was
up
that?
and running and scaling as quickly as you are. It's pretty cool. We got another segment of the podcast called Secret Sauce. And secret sauce is this: what is something that's working for you that maybe you think might be working for other people, help them improve their businesses?
Customer service. I mean, you'd be surprised. It doesn't cost anything and it goes a long way. So put yourself in your customer's shoes and see how they want to be treated. And then when they have an issue, I try to resolve it based on if I was the consumer, how would I want it to be handled? If I have to give somebody $5 or $10 back, like it's not going to hurt me that much, but it might hurt them if they don't get it back. So, especially dealing with, a lot of lower income people in laundromats, I try to understand their story and just treat them all fair and kind and be nice and say hi to people, walk around, like introduce yourself. A guy left us a Google review. I went to this laundromat. The owner introduced himself. I've never been to a laundromat where the owner's willingly done that. Like he put that on Google with 5 stars.
Mm-hmm.
You can't pay for that type of advertising.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
that simple. Just go above and beyond on customer service, and it will come back.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. That's great advice. And goes back to that sort of unreasonable hospitality. Again, if you haven't read that, anybody listening out there, go check that book out. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
We've got another segment called Pro Tips, and that's what's your best piece of advice for anybody who was you like 7, 8, 9 months ago who's trying to buy their first laundromat?
Find so if you're really looking into the laundromats and you haven't bought anything yet, go talk to some laundromat owners. I never did that because one, I'm so used to being in industries that are not willing to help. When I was in the towing industry, it was cutthroat. Like no other tow company around you wanted to give you advice on how to do better because they're your competition. Why would they? All the
Mm-hmm.
laundromat owners I've met, I want to say 95% of them have been amazing. This is how we do it. These are our prices. They'll share a ton of information with you just because you're interested and they want to talk about it. And I tell people all the time that
Mm-hmm.
call me, I give them information. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but this is what I'm doing, you know? So just talk to people and find a good distributor. I think that's key. If you find a good distributor, they will help you left and right because they want your business. Even if you're not buying right now, I think a good distributor realizes the relationship is worth more than the money right this second. So, network.
Yeah. Shout out to Tim again.
Shout out to Tim
Way to go,
again.
buddy.
I'm gonna have to send him
That's
this one
right.
when it goes live.
I know, man. Maybe I'll give you a discount. Tim, give him a discount on his next order.
Right? So one thing that Daniels did for me, so we're getting the Santa wash in my third store.
Hmm.
And they went and did a bunch of like energy saving type stuff and got rebates. I don't know what they did or how they did it. They ended up working the Santa wash into my budget by doing like these incentives through the state or whatever they did. I honestly don't even know what they did, but they saved me a ton of money. I was able to get the Santa wash in my third store when we get all the stuff without having to pay full price for it.
Dude, that's awesome. Above and beyond. Again, I mean, the customer service goes both ways, right? Like on the our end where we're serving our customers and when the people that we're working for, if they're practicing good customer service, we're gonna give them more business, right? So way to go, Tim
Exactly.
and Daniels. Uh
So yeah.
Last segment of the podcast before my last question is what resources do you recommend to people to help them either improve their businesses or to improve themselves?
I mean, one of the big ones is yours. I mean, I spent so much time like on YouTube with watching, your videos, the CLA stuff, Dave Menz, his stuff. I just met him down in Nashville. That was awesome. Um, there's so much information out there that if you fail in the laundromat industry, it's because you didn't take the time to learn. So just take the time, watch the videos, listen to the podcasts, talk to people. Um, so much great information that you guys spent the time to put out there that helps people like me. Like I got so much information from your podcast and Dave and Brian Wallace and um, just seeing what's out there. Uh, that I feel like if I fail, it's because it's all me. You guys gave me all of the tools, and now I'm just running with them.
Yeah. Awesome, man. I think that's great. And I'm just gonna sidestep that I appreciate the compliment. I'm gonna sidestep it. I'm gonna pass that credit on to all the people like you who've been willing to come on the podcast and share your story, your experience, your wisdom and knowledge. And same with Dave's, show. I know he's had a lot of guests on too, shared a lot of stuff too. So absolutely. And I love, love, love to hear you say that. So many owners have been willing to share information. That has not always been the case in our industry. And I love that it is becoming more and more common for that to be happening. So uh, yeah, awesome, awesome resources. Check out Dave's podcast, Laundromat Millionaire, as well. And yeah, a lot of good resources on YouTube, podcasts, all that stuff.
I was actually
Last question I have for you before we wrap this thing up is people are just jiving with what you're doing and what you're saying. They want to connect more with you, maybe ask you some questions, maybe just want to hang out. Maybe they want an introduction to Tim. Uh, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
yeah, you can email me. Email me or friend request me on Facebook and send me a Facebook Messenger. Either one of those would work. Um, so on Facebook, I'm just Alex Bloom. I think you can link me to that somehow.
Yep.
And my email is alex at yeswelaundry.com.
Awesome. And we'll have all that information, all the links and everything that we talked about today in the show notes, or if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and then go down below in the description and check that out. Alex, dude, this has been awesome. I loved hearing your story, how you got into this business. And I dig the way that you're operating, dig the way that you're putting together creative deals. I dig the way that you are uh, structuring your stores and organizing things. And I love your strategy and plan. And I think, that, you know, scaling from 1 to 3 is no small feat in the first 7, 8, whatever it is, months that you've been doing that. And I know the amount of work that you're putting in, which makes this time that you gave up to share your story even more valuable. And appreciate it so much, dude. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you having me. This has been amazing. Like I said, it's my first time ever even on a podcast of any sort. So this is like super exciting, and I'm like just super thrilled to be here. So appreciate
Awesome,
everything
man.
that
Well,
you're
it's
doing.
downhill from here in terms of guesting on podcasts. I mean, there's not too many at the caliber. No, I'm just kidding. But dude, seriously, you rock. And last, I mean, I don't want to like toot your horn too much, but I also want to just specifically thank you for sharing a lot of specifics, specific numbers, and all that, and specific details on what you're doing. I think that that is the kind of thing that is the most helpful, especially for those getting started, but also for those of us who are in the business and are trying to figure out, like, is my business doing what it's supposed to be doing? Am I thinking about it the right way? So, dude, special thank you for being willing to just come on and share all those specifics with us.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it because yeah, if it helps out somebody, that's gonna be awesome. So
Sweet. All right. Well, we're gonna have to do another one of these in a year or two when you've got accidentally like 7 or 8 laundromats when you're really trying to stop buying them. You can't stop.
yeah,
You
we'll
know.
definitely have to do this again for sure. We'll see what happens in a year.
Awesome,
I'm
man.
hoping for
Well,
the
I
best,
appreciate it a
but
lot, and let's stay in touch. All right, I hope you loved that interview with Alex. So much good stuff. Again, he brought the numbers, he brought the real details, and that's what I love. So, huge shout out and thank you to Alex for coming on the show. And man, hopefully we have you back on again because that was great. Listen, all that means nothing unless you do something about it. So take some action. We talked about it at the beginning. I'm going to just bookend it with, hey, take some action. Maybe pick one thing that Alex talked about, sparked an idea in you, and put it into action this week. Remember, we're trying to stack these actions every single week in order to build the life that we want to build for ourselves. So pick something, put it into action. Maybe go share it on the forums, laundromatresource.com/forums, in order to hold yourself accountable and to see what actions other people are taking. Because again, we're better when we're doing it all together. So do that, and we'll see you next week. And enjoy your time with family and friends over the next couple weeks. Peace.